This is true. I'm learning. I'm learning.
Someday we'll get you there.
Was it? I'm Mr. Halpern. My name is Matt Geyer. I'm a junior. I'm majoring in professional sales. First of all, thank you for your time. So I listened to your podcast with Top Business Leaders Show, and you talked a lot about how you and your company like to have fun and have all these ideas that kind of push the limits of traditional food, especially with the casual dining. My question is, in the context of sales, how do you manage the limit of pushing the limit itself and all these creative ideas on the fun side with also, having continuous sales and not driving people away because the ideas are too crazy?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, first off, it's a great question, right? And I think I was sent your resume. You're in insurance. Are you in insurance?
I've been turning it, yeah.
Yeah, so very different than restaurants insurance, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Perry Rogers, who's Shaquille O'Neal's agent, who I was just with all day today, I talk to him almost every day. He's like a big brother. One of the things he always says is nobody cares about what you're selling. They care about why you're selling it, right? And that's true of anything. That's true of insurance. It's true of fast food, chicken sandwiches. It's true of it all. When you think about Shaq, the first thing that comes to mind is fun, right? He's always smiling. He's one of the most memes people on the planet. So we have to have a business that's very, very serious, but the business still needs to feel like Shaquille. Otherwise, it will not have the authenticity that we need to have, and we will not be able to sell franchises because at the end of the day, that is my core business is selling franchises. Our franchises sell the fried chicken sandwiches. So our franchises need to believe, hey, this is a system that has its shit together, that understands how to make money for a franchisee, but at the same time is going to do things that set it apart from other chains so that the guest or the consumer will want to come to the restaurant. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Thank you for your time.
Of course.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Andy. I'm a senior. I'm a marketing major. I was just curious if you could talk a little about when it comes to like actually being face to face with like a new vendor or supplier, what hits harder for you, the actual relationship with them, or are you more of like a numbers guy? Like, how do you balance the two?
Yeah, I come across as a frat guy sometimes, but I'm definitely more data driven, right? At the end of the day, vendor relationships, it's really about finding relationships with a purpose, right? It can't just be that your vendor is, yeah, they take me out for dinner and they, we do cool things or whatever. There needs to be a purpose, and that purpose is rooted in business. So I think it's not one or the other. It's how do you root a strong personal relationship? Because those interpersonal relationships are the ultimate jump ball, right? People would rather be with people they like than people they don't like. But if the data's not there, they can't do it, right? So it's really finding that right balance between facts and relationship building. That's how you're going to be most successful with that relationship over time. And then if the relationship actually matters to the other partner when times get tough, right? When everybody's winning, it doesn't really matter. It's when one of the two parties is struggling, will the other party step up or will the other party say, sucks to be you, you're struggling? If it's a partner that's willing to help you when times are a little rougher, that's a partner you want to hold on to dearly.
Thank you.
You got it.
You gotta go for
How's it going? My name is Jared. I'm a triple major, professional sales, data analytics, and business econ. And I actually also probably come across as a frat guy for the most part. So someone that wants to hone their interpersonal skills, but also has a passion for data and data-driven decisions. How do you try or attempt to take the data that you do have from big data and work it into your conversations and use that to your advantage?
Yeah. So, my father, when I was in high school, told me he wasn't going to send me to college until I knew how to sell. And he said, I'm going to get you a job for the summer and you're going to learn how to do that job perfectly. And then obviously I want you to go to college. And he had me sell long distance telephone service door to door in Brooklyn, New York, before Brooklyn was cool, right? It was still like dangerous to be in Brooklyn back then. And one of the key things I learned in that moment in time, well, two things. One, you need to sell with indifference if you're going to be overly enthusiastic in your selling cycle because you're extrovert, brat boy type. So I have no problem saying to a client, hey, it doesn't matter to me if you do this or not, right? I obviously value your friendship tremendously. The reason why I think it makes sense for you is A, B, and C, with those A, B, and C being data points. But if you feel differently, like, man, we're good. And I
So,
just dead fish stare them in the eye.
so you would say very matter of factly, but in a true interpersonal way.
Yeah, you have to, right? But at the same time, you got to have positive mental attitude. Positive mental attitude drives other people's money, right? No one's sitting there saying, I hope a guy calls me today to offer me an insurance policy, or man, I hope I could be upsold on the car I want to buy, or a million, not even would you like fries with that? No one's saying, I hope if I walk into a McDonald's, the woman behind the counter asks me if I want to upsize my fries because I'm not going to do it unless she asks. No one's saying that, right? It's your positive mental attitude and kind of your aura about you will drive the conversation. But at the end of the day, you have to get indifferent when it comes to the facts.
Man, thank you.
Hey Josh, thanks for coming in. My name is Aiden. I'm a senior with a double major in marketing and management. I saw on your LinkedIn that you're also do some advising and consulting for startup food and beverage companies. I'm curious what you look for, or specifically what you don't look for, as someone that's starting up, someone that's young, in their business idea, but also their pitch and how they carry themselves. What are like some really distinct things that you look for trade wise?
Yeah. So first off, I have to like the people. Second off, I have to like the product. Third off, the product needs to meet some form of an unmet need where I could say, huh, if they're successful, it will be incremental and they won't have all these big guys hitting at them. Like I'm on the board of a company called Hop Water that's going to do almost 30 million in revenue this year. It's literally beer flavored seltzer. There's nothing else like it in the market. It's why they went from 0 to 30 million over 4 years. And then I really try to get into the pro forma, right? How much cash do you have on hand to activate your dream? What's your ability to get capital? Or is that why you're asking me to participate? You need my help in helping you get capital. What do your supplier relationships look like? How are you going to market the brand? How are you going to drive trial? How are you thinking about repeat? How are you thinking about distribution? Because most people, they don't have business plans, they just have good ideas, right? The number of people who said to me, "Oh, I'm going to launch this beverage brand and it's going to be great, and these are the three influencers I'm going to grab." You're like, "Oh, okay. Well, like, how are you going to get the product to retail?" "Oh, we haven't figured that out yet." "Oh, and like, how are you going to source ingredients?" "Now we haven't figured that out yet, too." That's really why we want you to join the board. Yeah, man, no thanks. You don't have a business plan, you have an idea, right? So I think if you're looking to create your own business plan and you want to sell that business plan, I would look at every function of the company when it's built, right? Put yourself in the position of it's 36 months. I now have a head of finance, I have a head of sales, I have a head of marketing, I have a head of supply chain, I have a head of R&D, I have these things. What will I want them working on 36 months from today? And that becomes the story you have to sell. Because when you're doing zero in revenue and it's just a PowerPoint, all anyone is wondering is how are you going to turn PowerPoint into reality? And that's your pitch. Your pitch is getting people excited about turning PowerPoint into reality in a way that will make them money.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, how are you? My name is Erica. I'm studying professional sales at Bentley University with a minor of finance and English media. I know that you are a business owner, and in Haiti, there's very poor leadership when it comes to businesses, even if they're very high businesses, and I've seen businesses collapse due to the poor leadership. And I wanted to ask you, what's the single biggest mistake salespeople make when pitching to large buyers when stakes are high or businesses need to survive based on that decision?
The biggest mistake salespeople make is they oversell. The minute you oversell, it's over. It's over, right? Think about like in a dating relationship, the person's like, come on, let's go out tomorrow. It'll be great. It'll be so much fun. We should totally go out tomorrow. We should blah, 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 blah. You're like, man, I don't want that person at all. I don't want to be anywhere near that person. They're overselling like crazy. What is wrong with that person? Right? Um, Same's true here, right? The salesperson that oversells reeks of desperation. And if you're reeking of desperation, you're hiding something from me. And if you're hiding something from me, it's a bad deal. Either I should get it for cheaper or I need to run from you as quick as humanly possible, right? So the key is the more you need it, the more you have to dial into indifference. You have to dial into the, I know I'm doing what's right. I am more focused on you than on myself. Here's why I think it makes sense for you. And if you disagree, man, we're good. Hopefully we could still be LinkedIn connections and be friends.
I would love an internship from you.
Thank you.
How you doing, sir? My name's James Allen. I'm a junior at Bentley. I'm majoring in business management, and I'm also a Dunkin' Donuts franchisee. And I was just curious from your perspective, what do you guys do to stand out more compared to your competition? Like, it's a pretty plain and simple question, but like, what is you guys' goal as a company to stand out?
Yeah, I mean, we have a strength that's also a threat, and both are Shaquille O'Neal, right? So I have no issue getting people interested in Big Chicken because we have Shaq. The problem is people want to become a franchisee because of Shaq, and we really need to do what we can to root that out because it's the wrong reason to be a franchisee. What we try to do at Big Chicken is really try to build a brand around what is the inner brand essence of Shaquille O'Neal. And we had to have a tough conversation back in March where we said to one another, our menu's not as fun as it should be, right? And because it's not as fun as it should be, we're losing a little something, something. So we created a way more fun menu. If you go to a Big Chicken restaurant today, there are different sandwich variations from any other chicken restaurant on earth, right? We also had to look at it and say, how do we do things differently? And from a marketing perspective, that get people to say, whoa, we gave our franchisees 7.4 billion media impressions last year as a 48 unit chain. You can't do that so easily, right? The thing that's key though about franchising, what makes Big Chicken very, very different from Dunkin' Donuts is in the sales cycle of franchising. You can be a proof of concept franchisor, which is like what Big Chicken is, which is really 100 to 150 units or less, right? Systems are still being figured out. The prototype is still being figured out. You're still experimenting with the brand. You're still towards the bottom of your S curve growing. With Dunkin' Donuts, it's about proof of scale. Your processes, your playbooks, your marketing checklists, your everything are rooted and regimented down to the gnat's ass because you have thousands and thousands of stores worth of data telling you that the best way to achieve your Y variable of sales revenue is to do these 4, 5, 6, 7 things. When you're an emerging brand at proof of concept, you're still very much in the moment of trying to figure out how to reduce the standard error of your process and how to basically make yourself appear bigger than you actually are.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great question.
Hi, my name is Andrea. I'm a junior, double majoring in data analytics and management. So I read that you like to reach win-win solutions with your partners. How do you reach these when you can tell that someone doesn't want to compromise? Do you have any techniques or strategies?
At the end of the day, I would never be in a position where I would feel a need to close that deal if the person didn't want to be win-win. At the end of the day, if you think about it like a football field, negotiations should always be between the 40s if you value the partner, right? If you don't value the partner and it's only a transaction, it could be wherever you want the ball to be on the field, right? But if you want to be in a 10-year relationship with somebody, trying to get every last win and every last point you possibly can out of them, you're not exactly setting yourself up for 10 years of success, right? So when I talk about win-win, it's how do I stay between the 40s to make sure that everyone are getting their needs met so that we can grow together in a way that's symbiotic. That's not 100% of the time, mind you, right? Because there's some people that they just don't have the same importance, right? Or as a vendor, they're not our core center plate. And you say, on this one, I'm just going to solely take the best price, or but then you understand what that relationship is. They understand what that relationship is, and you understand how you have to move forward as a result of it. If you care about the partner, if you're going to use the word partner and not vendor, right? If you're going to use the word partner, it has to stay between the 40s. And if you're doing a good job, you're keeping it, and where you're on offense in the 40s, not defense. But every so often, you have to go on defense too.
Thank you.
Josh, my name is Max and I am a professional sales major here at Bentley. And my question is, as someone who's transitioned from sales roles to executive leadership, how do you think that sales prepared you to lead at the C-suite level?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm doing harder sales today than I ever did when I ran sales departments, right? Now I have to convince people to deploy capital into my company, and I have to convince judges sometimes in a mediation, why we should prevail versus another party. Or I have to persuade suppliers why they can't take a price increase on me, or why they should lean in and give us pricing like we're already the size of what we're going to be 4 years from now. Um, there's not a single role out there, no matter what you're planning on doing, there is not a single role out there where your primary job won't be selling. If you're a doctor, you're selling that you know what's wrong with your patient. If you're a lawyer, you're selling your client's innocence or guilt. If you're an elementary school teacher, you're selling knowledge to 7-year-olds that really don't want to listen. We are all salespeople. So what growing up in sales taught me was really the mechanics of the process so I can lead with the best possible gravitas moving forward. And that for me was critical. I think every senior leader, no matter what you do, needs to have at least one rotation in sales, because otherwise you really don't understand the trajectory you could be on.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully you guys aren't picking up background noise. There's a bartender behind me that's literally screaming, and there's a woman that keeps moving chairs. So hopefully that's not distracting, because it is for me.
Hi, Josh. My name is Pat. I'm a senior professional sales major and looking to get into a career in sales after graduation this year. Could you maybe just share one piece of advice you wish you knew when you were our age and in our shoes, going into corporate America pretty soon here?
Yeah, find a mentor or boss that you believe in early in your career. Like, even if the role pays you a couple $1,000s less than another role, the entire time you're in your 20s, it's about building your book of mentors. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be paying the bills, right? Like, obviously you need to make money, but the most important thing you can do in the interview process, and do not make the mistake that they're just interviewing you. You most certainly are also interviewing them. Make sure one of your criterion is the person you're going to be working for, or the team that you're going to be working on, and that you think it's a team of people you can grow from. I'm so damn lucky that mentors took big risks on me, and I still talk to them all the time, right? I talk to people I worked at Procter & Gamble with when I lived in Boston at 22 years old. I still talk to the former chief customer officer at Clorox from when I was a region manager in Boston and then moved out to California. The guy I moved out to California for, that boss is currently a CEO at Physicians Formula. My dotted line boss became CEO of Clorox, Ben O'Dore, and was named #1 Glassdoor CEO in the world, right? I went to Anheuser-Busch InBev later in my career, got to be on Carlos Brito's team when he was considered the best CEO from Forbes. These people shaped me, right? In terms of how much original thought did I pull out of left field myself, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. Our careers are finding the best possible people, ripping and reapplying from them into building our personal stances and our personal substance, and what type of leaders or managers or salespeople we want to be. And then at some point, you reach a point in your career where you say, you have to pay it forward, right? I could be on the phone with 150 people right now. When Zev asks me to join this class, Zev, have I ever turned you down?
Never.
Never. Because for me to get the level of mentorship I got in my 20s and 30s, I have to pay it all back in my 40s and 50s. It's just the way it goes. So right now in your careers, if you can make me one promise, it's please make sure whoever you're interviewing with, you're looking at that boss saying that person will be a damn good first mentor and a damn good person for for me to spend the first 1 to 3 years of my career with. You will regret it if you solely go take the check or if you go to a situation that you know isn't going to be great.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Nina Crosby. I know you mentioned earlier you're from Brooklyn, New York. I also am from Park Slope originally. So I just wanted to ask you if you feel that your upbringing has influenced or played any sort of role in your success.
1,000,000% yes. You know, at the end of the day, there's a really brilliant book by a guy named Aubrey Daniels. And what he basically says is our careers follow the ABCs: antecedents, behaviors, and consequences. Your antecedents are every experience you've ever had, including this right now, right? They start to shape your behaviors, and there's no such thing as good behavior or bad behavior. Obviously, something like murder would be an exclusion to that, right? But at the end of the day, there's plenty of successful people that get through life screaming, and there's plenty of not successful people that get through life collaborative, right? Your behaviors are formed by your antecedents, and then those behaviors have both positive and negative consequences. The only thing you can't do is not accept the consequences for whatever behavior you're looking to do. So, growing up in New York and then moving around, I lived in Boston for almost 5 years. In fact, I got to meet Zev because he's good friends with one of the guys I got my MBA with at Babson. Moved out to California, went back to New York, moved to Philly, to New Jersey, to St. Louis, back to New Jersey. Each one of these moves shaped who I am. They changed my antecedents, right? If you're from Brooklyn, think about how you could round out the edges just a little bit, right? But never change the fact that you're from Brooklyn, right? Just find the experiences that round you to what you want to be. And if what you want to be is 100% Brooklyn badass, then go for that too.
Thank you.
You got it.
Hi, my name is
Hi.
Olivia. I'm a senior, a management major, psychology minor, and I definitely am a Brooklyn badass, period. I am the founder of Glen by Lily B, a business I started 4 years ago. And I currently travel between Brooklyn and Waltham back and forth right now because I go to school here, but I live over there. And I wanted to know if you had any advice on how I can like maintain the relationships and clientele I make in both areas.
Yeah, the Chinatown bus. I think that still exists, right? There used to be the Chinatown bus back and forth between Boston and New York.
Yes, we go together like this.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, so much now is done virtually, at text, Snap, Instagram, whatever. Just make sure you're staying in touch with people. Make sure that they're on your mind. I did Perry Rogers, who's Shaquille's agent. I mentioned him earlier. We did a restaurant deal together on the Las Vegas Strip in 2016 called Beer Park by Budweiser. And at the end of it, he said, someday we're going to build a business with Shaquille. And when we do, you're going to be our CEO. And I thought that was bananas crazy. And once every 90 days, he would call me just to check in. No agenda. Just wanted to make sure I didn't forget him, right? And then one day in 2021, he said, "Hey, I read on LinkedIn your contract at FIFCO ended. What are you going to do now?" And I said, "Well, for the first time in 23 years, I'm going to figure it out." And he said, "Well, shit, we just agreed to do a CEO for Shaquille's Big Chicken. I was calling you to see if you'd be interested in leaving your company to do it. Would you just want to come do this with us?" Because he kept the relationship going, right? If you're not keeping the relationship going, people are going to see their relationship with you as a transaction, right? And if you care about those partners, you need to make it like it's a relationship, right? And I use a lot of dating analogies because they trigger faster, right? Do you want to view those partners that you're kind of leaving behind when you leave one city or the other as a relationship that you had, or a fling, or a one night stand, right? If it's one night stand, people know that's how they're treated. You're not going to get the same reaction when they call you. But if it's like an ex and the breakup's on good terms, you can always reach out to that person and say, "Hey, same is true in business, right? People do not like to be treated as a transaction unless it's clear going into the business relationship that this is solely a transaction, right? Otherwise, people want to find relationships.
Thank you.
You got it.
Hi, how are you? I'm Tyler. I'm a senior sales major. I appreciate you taking your time to speak with us tonight. A pretty basic question, but I just kind of want to get an idea of what traits and skill sets you look for in kind of a young salesperson that you potentially would want to bring onto your team. That
Yeah.
that you think can kind of take their sales experience to the next level.
First, at the end of the day, honesty, integrity, professionalism. If we don't have that, we have nothing, right? Especially in sales, where people assume you're trying to swindle them, depending on what industry you're in. Honesty, integrity, professionalism. The next one is the person data-driven or just trying to fake it? You know, one of my favorite interview questions, I had a boss at Anheuser-Busch. His favorite interview question was, who's going to win the election? He didn't care what your answer was. He didn't care if you said, oh, it's going to be the Republican or it's going to be the Democrat or it's going to be this one or that one. He wanted to know, would you give any form of fact-based given approach to how you answer that question? Or since it was an emotional question, would you only answer with emotion, right? The correct answer to that question would be, according to the polls, so-and-so will win, but there's a standard error of X. That would be an ideal answer, right? But any answer that shows any basis of fact was a win for us. We would say, all right, let's push that person through, right? So I think once you get past integrity, professionalism are you selling with facts? Are you selling with data, right? The next one is, are you someone I'd want to be around with, right? Are you someone I'd want to grab a beer with? Because in these longer term partnerships, that relationship does matter. You know, and I think the fourth and final one is, are you coming with win-win solutions, or is it clear you only care about yourself? For me, I have had great success coming with win-win solutions because my customers know that I'm not just trying to sell them, I'm trying to grow their business. My view is, if I help you grow your business, I'm going to get mine. Obviously, I want to get mine, but I'm going to get mine by you getting yours, not at the expense of you getting yours. So those are the key traits.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi, Josh. How are you doing? I have two questions. First of all, how are you doing? Because no one asked you. How are you doing? Are you doing great?
I'm doing well, thanks. All
Okay.
good.
Okay, so well, first of all, I'm Santi. I'm from Spain, from Barcelona, and my question is, I'm a 21-year-old, and I'm starting my own business. And I always do deals with people like in their 40s or 50s, and I kind of find it difficult to like connect with them because I'm too young, and I don't know if you have any tip for that.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, age shouldn't matter at all. On the connection side, there's always things you could connect on, right? First off, most people in their 40s, they're not on TikTok, they're not on Instagram. So make sure you're communicating with them in a way that makes sense for them, right? But the second one is, there's some universal things, right? Most people you could connect with on sports or music or the arts. You can always connect through business plans, right? Business is business. EBITDA hasn't changed in 2,000 years, right? And won't change for another 2,000 years, right? It's just finding common ground, commonality. One of my best friends in the restaurant industry is literally 26. I'm 46, right? She likes to pick my brain on different things because I have 20 extra years of experience. But our commonality is on travel and food and a whole bunch of other things. And we have no issue being around each other, even though there's a 20-year age gap. So I
You're
think,
not, sorry. No, go ahead.
no, so it's just finding those commonality. I mean, there's just certain areas that age doesn't matter. It's the complete human spirit.
Okay, so you wouldn't have a problem making a deal with a 20-year-old guy.
No, but I would definitely want to understand. Let's put it this way, to use a sports analogy, I'd have no problem doing it, but you would have a point spread against you, an underdog thing. You would have to prove to me that you know what you're talking about. And if you don't know what you're talking about, that you have a plan to have a number two under you that can solve whatever you're not sure of. But I'm dealing right now with several vendors in their 20s who started companies in their 20s because they had an impressive idea and they knew how to round out whatever knowledge gaps they didn't know. People in sales forget Vulnerability is key. It is key. Going back to the earlier question on what types of companies I like to advise, when someone says to me, hey, these 6 things are important in the company, I'm really good at these 4 things. I have this 5th one covered, but the 6th one I'm still trying to figure out. And I hope that that's where you come in. And let me explain to you why I think I'm good at these 4 things and my vision for what I need from you in the 6th. Okay, you've got my attention, right? Vulnerability matters. At your age, 21, if you want to tell everyone you have every answer down cold, you're turning them off before you've ever made your pitch. If you're positioning it as, I think I have 80% of this figured out, I think I have the machine ready to go, but here's a couple places where I need a little bit of help, a little rounding out, and why I think you can be a really good value to this, whether you're putting capital in or time or sweat or whatever that looks like, people are going to gravitate really, really well to that. But you have to be a little vulnerable. Don't oversell.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
Hello, Mr. Halpern. My name's David McLean. I'm a senior professional sales major as well. I've been in the restaurant industry my whole life, and as you know, like the name of the game is building relationships and maintaining those relationships. I was wondering how you managed relationships at the scale that you're at, whether you're dealing with franchisees, or franchisors, or focusing on like each individual store's relationship management with their customers there.
Yeah, look, one-to-one is borderline impossible now, right? We're too big. But that doesn't mean, so then you start to look at what's your communication protocols. Anyone that calls me, I tell every franchisee, every vendor, everything, you get me on the phone 19/7/363. I sleep 5 hours. You're not calling on Christmas. I'm not picking up Thanksgiving. Other than that, you can get me, right? Outside of that, it's what are the communication protocols that you use, right? So we do a monthly call with every one of our brands, every store. We go over the plans. We give time for Q&A. And in those calls, I don't try to be, for lack of a better term, Mr. Corporate Guy. I try to really show them my personality and try to be a little bit quirky and vulnerable and all the things that make me me, so they feel like they have a strong personal relationship with me and that I'm approachable. And then on LinkedIn is a really, really powerful tool for helping you build your personal brand, right? Anyone that's known me more than 3 years knows when it's someone from our PR agency that wrote the post versus me directly, because they know the authenticity in my voice when it's me, right? So I think working hard on what are the brand pillars of your personal brand. And by the way, it's the worst thing for a salesman to do. You're going to go out, you're going to try to sell insurance or restaurants or whatever you're trying to do, cars, whatever you're trying to do. The first brand you need to work on selling is yourself. What is your individual brand? What are the 3 to 5 reasons why someone should invest in your brand? What are your brand pillars, right? As if you are a consumer packaged good brand. What are your pillars and how do you communicate to the world your brand promise? That's vital. After that, what are the communication protocols you're going to use to communicate with all of your stakeholders? And then every single day, I try to allot time for like 3 or 4 phone calls to people I haven't talked to in a little bit, just to say, hey, man, I'm thinking of you, wanted to give you a ring, see what's going on, right? But it gets harder and harder the bigger your network grows, for sure, right? Which is why those protocols are so damn important. If I go a week not posting on LinkedIn, people start texting me to make sure I'm okay, because they're used to what they can expect from me. And if there's one thing we all want from the people around us, it's consistency 95% of the time. And then like 5% of the time, go do something crazy and spontaneous.
Right on. Okay, I will work on my personal brand. Thank you very much.
All right, Josh, I got the last question.
Wait. You said there were 32 to 38 students. Based on the number of people that asked, I think we're in the like teens, but that's fine.
At a certain time too.
Okay, fair enough.
The last 2 weeks, we've talked a lot about personal selling philosophies, which is super important. You used a word earlier, vulnerability, and why that's so super important in sales. One word that we have listed over here, I don't know if you can see it, is the word curiosity. I'm wondering if you could shed a little bit of light for the students here about why curiosity is so important in sales, and maybe a story where you've used curiosity in order to help develop you as a sales professional?
Yeah, in your 20s, curiosity has to be the most important thing. Curiosity and vulnerability, they go hand in hand. You don't have all the answers yet. By the way, at 46, neither do I, right? But you definitely don't, right? Let's stop pretending. The more questions you ask, the more you get people talking, they may sell themselves into whatever you're trying to do, right? Very early on in my career, I worked for Procter and Gamble in Boston, like I said, and I knew nothing. And I had a boss that wouldn't look at me, right? Thus, the feedback of make sure you love your first boss and they're going to be a good mentor, right? So I just started asking customers questions. And then finally, my customer said to me, "Hey, you're not getting a lot of guidance from your boss, are you?" I said, "No." He goes, "How would you feel about having lunch with me every Tuesday in the office and I'll teach you stuff?" I said, "Man, that sounds great." So, like 3 Tuesdays a month, once a month on average, it wouldn't work for him or I'd have to travel. No, but 3 Tuesdays a month, I'd go to the office and I was basically in school. And this guy randomly gave me like in my first MBA in selling. And then I took a bigger job. I got promoted off the team and I went to CVS. And at that point in time, Procter and Gamble and CVS had a very adversarial relationship. They hated us to a point like I would go sit in the CVS cafeteria and I was like the smelly guy on the train, right? Like no one would be there'd be like a circle in the cafeteria where like no one would sit not at my table, but also at any table adjacent to my table. It was like wide berth, avoid the Procter and Gamble guy. And finally, I like cornered a vice president. I just started asking questions like, why? Yeah, why are we so hated? Like, I'm the new kid. I'm 23. I don't know shit from shit, right? Like, why are we not liked at CVS? You're an important customer of ours. We're 7.5% of your business. Which is sizable for CVS. Why? Came to find out, no one had asked that question. So we were making business decisions that were actually hurting our buyers from achieving their bonuses. And basically, the only way you could get a good bonus at CVS back in 2002, 2003 was to make sure you were not selling Procter and Gamble's products. Right? And from that moment on, I made it a mission. The first time I meet anybody, most of the conversation is not about the pitch. The first time I meet somebody, the conversation is about what are your pain points? What are you struggling with? How could we help you? Right? Like, what does success look like for you? How do you get paid? What's your bonus criterion? Fast forward 10 years in my career, and I'm responsible for French's Mustard and Frank's Red Hot all over the US. I ran retail sales, and I'm given the task of getting into the sandwich program and deli programs with French's and Frank's, with like chicken wing programs in the grocery deli counter and sandwiches and all this stuff. And me, I have a pretty good batting average for my career. I went to 30 customers with my team and went 0 for 30. Biggest slump of my career ever. Could not figure out how to sell Frank's Red Hot into a chicken wing program in a grocery store convenience store to save my life. And my boss said, "You have to think differently, come up with something different." And I went back to those early days in my career and I said, "It's not about the sauce. We're going to put together, hey, this is what we think a perfect wings program looks like. And this is what we see in your wings program. What are you seeing? What does pain look like? Right? Like why should this be doing better? Are you guys satisfied?" And my first meeting is with Kroger, largest grocery chain in North America. We had a 17 or 18 slide deck. For the first 15 slides, the words French's and Frank's Red Hot were never uttered from my mouth. And 50% of the dialogue was me getting this guy talking about our slides and about what he saw in his wing program. And finally, he says to me, "Hey, we only have 5 minutes left. You haven't even told me what you do for a living." And I flip the slide, and there's the picture of all the French's Mustard SKUs and all the Frank's Red Hot SKUs. And he goes, "Look, man, I need you in my life. Let's just start with buffalo and barbecue. It's like 65% of our sales." And I said, "Jeff, let's go. Let's form this partnership." And we did. It came from the questions, not the answers, right? One of the things I like to say all the time is I definitely don't have all of the answers. I'd like to believe I have all of the questions. That comes from being curious, and that's something I strive to do every day of my career. But in the beginning of my career, in my 20s, where you guys are, it was freaking critical to start your career curious and
Awesome.
vulnerable.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer. Appreciate it. What do we say?
Thank
Thank you for talking.
Thank you, guys. Always love coming to this class, and let me know how I could be a help. Reach out on LinkedIn, connect to me on LinkedIn. Let's keep the dialogue going.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate you.
Thank you.